All right. We're live.
Okay. Well, welcome to this episode of the Great Lakes Permaculture Collaborative Podcast. This collaborative formed in 2016 to bring together 3 regional permaculturists to innovate permaculture practices and design education. My name is William Faith, and I'm here with Milton Dixon. And we're missing Rhonda Baird, who is elsewhere at the moment. And this week, we're going to be talking about plant life cycles. So before we get into our topic today, we want to check in for a minute or two and see what's going on in our personal practices. So Milton, over to you.
Today for me was all about social permaculture. Checking in with all the parts of the cooperative that I'm stewarding, checking in with the organization that's gifting us this property, and just checking in about all the things that are going on in the space that we've created, and making sure that nobody butts heads, right, or tornadoes through several different projects in pursuit of their own. So it's really important stuff, and often neglected.
Definitely.
How about you?
Yeah, over on this end, lots of cool stuff going on right now. My microgreens operation is scaling up, so I'm going up to 44 flats, 44 flats turning around on a 10-day cycle. So yeah. That's where that's at. Waiting on a couple of pieces that are coming in, but I should be starting germination on the next crop probably tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing where that takes me. And then right now, I just had another meeting with the vegan farm animal sanctuary in the south of France that I'm designing for. We were just talking about some of the challenges on the landscape. There's a centuries-old process there called eco-bourrage that they use in that particular area, where they tend to manage overgrowth of gorse and fern by burning. And so I said, controlled burning. They're all like, nope, it's not controlled burning. They just pretty much light everything on fire and then walk away. And in past instances, like 1 year, they had to evacuate a hotel full of tourists because that was endangered by fire. In another case, there was a small group that got encircled by the fire and died. They almost burned down another person's house in the process. So it's basically they light everything on fire and go to lunch. And then they were also letting me know that gorse propagates by fire. So it's actually kind of a little backwards. But so that's some of the challenges that we're looking at, and that's certainly going to feature into my design process, or strategies rather. But yeah, it's all the stuff you hear in a day. Amazing stuff.
Oh boy. Well, so today what are we talking about? Plant life cycles, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. I think a lot of people may not, if you don't interact with plants, you might kind of miss the middle one, right? We got 3 primary plant cycles that we're talking about. One is annuals, and they grow, they produce seed, and then the plant dies back to the ground, and then the next year the seed comes back. And those tend to be kind of first responders, kind of disturbed soil. A lot of times you'll have a seed bank in the soil, so that if you disturb the soil, then you'll kind of get these weird things that, where'd that come from? Well, it was, seed bank in the soil. I've seen velvet leaf, and what's the loco weed, the Jimison weed. Both of those come up, unseeded or whatever. The other side, then, we have perennials. And you want to talk a little bit about perennials, maybe, so I don't have to...
No, by all means. Perennials, that's kind of the gold standard in permaculture design. We try to design perennial systems predominantly. That way we can, plant the systems that don't disturb soil year after year, year in, year out. And that what you were just mentioning about annuals is central to that. You were just talking about that flush that you'll get as soon as you disturb the soil. Once you oxygenate, and all of a sudden, poof, you get everything, and all the things that we think of as weeds will start to pop up as well. Whereas perennials tend to be the thing. We're always trying to do these perennial systems as much as possible. I always chime in here that because of that, a lot of people will tend to throw shade on annuals and sort of indicate almost that annuals have no place, which I think is erroneous. I think annuals absolutely have a place, but it's on a spectrum. It's on a timeline. You can use a lot of annuals while you're establishing perennial systems, and in agroforestry in particular, I think that really applies. But then we also have our in-between step, don't we?
The in-between, the biennials. And these are plants that you probably know a bunch of biennials, but don't realize that they're biennials. The pattern is that they tend to grow low, a rosette usually, so just a little kind of circle of leaves, and then they're putting all their energy into a root. And then that root overwinters, and come the next spring, that root sends up a shoot and puts out the seeds. So things like carrots,
onions, leeks.
Yeah. If it's building a big root, then it's probably going to be a biennial, and then it'll die after that, right? And some plants kind of borderline, like brassicas, broccoli, right? The flowers come from the first year, but most brassicas are actually biennials and won't flower and fruit until the second year.
And then to further confuse the issue, you've got so much gray area in between where you can have, certain, perennials may not be able to, may not work in your climate. So you have annualized perennials that you're growing short term year after year. You have some things that will, depending on climate, certain annuals that will, biennials that will act, differently, and so on and so forth.
A biennial that, maybe it's in a hoop house or gets a little warmth early in the season and then gets shocked with a cold snap, and then it will think, well, that was winter, here we go, right, and try to produce seed.
Yep.
Did you ever see that talk that Holmgren gave? He gave it with the guy that wrote Dark Emu.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, he was talking about that the cultures that developed perennial systems, when war happened, they couldn't. The systems would essentially get torched, right? And then you couldn't reestablish them in a year. But cultures that depended upon annuals, or if they had them in their pocket, right? That they would tend towards those because those they could get back the next year, after some sort of trauma. Whereas the perennial systems, they take a long time to establish, and then once they're gone, then you get that long ease into actually getting something productive out of them.
It's right in the principles. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
you've got to be adaptable and flexible on that.
Right, and with my personal journey, annuals that reseed themselves are wonderful. Because then are they where does that or even biennials that reseed themselves, then they're as good as perennials. They come back into work. They're just there for you to pick.
Yep, absolutely. So and even with annuals, you get a lot of volunteers. You get things that just happen on their own. In some cases, they almost act like perennials, depending on the circumstances.
Right. So just taking that little concept of the plant life cycles, you can really learn a lot about a plant. Maybe know that it's going to have a root. Like say you're new to vegetable gardening. The carrots, that, hey, if you wanted to save seeds from the carrots, well, it's a root. You're probably going to have to wait. You're going to have to not pick them and then save them for the second year to get the seeds out of them, right? There's just a lot of in that one concept, you can learn a lot about plants.
And applying it to design, I think that the temporal aspect of it, the time piece is kind of central. That's really how I think of them, more than in just their individual function. It's how they function together over time.
Yeah.
While you're establishing perennial systems, if you're just planting perennials and expecting to eat, well, it's going to be a while, so that's where you can use annuals, while you're establishing them. I think it's one of the sort of central things that a lot of people do in successful agroforestry systems is while you're waiting to kind of close canopy, you've got that space in between those rows where you can be planting a lot of productive annuals. And I know a lot of people have done and made it work economically as well. So there's a whole spectrum of thinking design wise that goes into this on top of it.
Right. Putting all these pieces together in a way that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
Indeed.
Hey, well, thanks for hanging out with us at the GLPDC podcast. We're trying to do a weekly podcast spread a little bit of permaculture, keep things kind of focused. We always welcome feedback. The more the more we hear back about what we're doing, the more we can do the right thing, right, and respond to that feedback and make what we do better.
Yeah, tell us what you want us to talk about. We'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait till we have a questions show, and that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, but definitely.
You can find us at glpdc.info. You can see down there, right? Right below William. And some things we're rolling out we have rolled out a free intro to permaculture email course. It's just the bare bones to start, but it's enough to get us rolling and to test it and to get feedback and to make it better. So that's at glpdc.info.
You give us your email address, and the entire course load goes right into your inbox.
That's right. A week at a time. And then also we're gearing up for a couple courses. Specifically, the big one is in June, but we got a few others coming down the pipe too, right?
Yep, we've got Rhonda Baird. Who's going to be doing a Plants of Permaculture course at the Old Schoolhouse Community Garden, just outside Chicago here. So that course is coming up. Check it out on our website.
May 26th.
Yep, that's the date. And thank you. And then also we do have our online permaculture design course coming up beginning in June, and registration is open for that.
Yeah.
It's sliding scale for tuition, so you can pay what you can afford. All the info is on the website, but distance is no longer a limiting factor. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to learn, permaculture from us, this is your opportunity. And so check it out, sign up. It's going to be a great course.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. See you soon.